has now released a strongly worded statement after the Chinese Foreign Minister spoke to the Indian External Affairs Minister over the phone over the violent incident that caused the deaths of 20 Indian soldiers on Tuesday. China has now released their version of what transpired and has accused Indian frontline soldiers of violating the consensus reached at the military-level talks held earlier. The statement goes on to say that it was the Indian troops who crossed the line of actual control and deliberately provoked Chinese troops. China has lodged a strong protest over the incident at the Galwan Valley region. It has demanded that India must conduct a probe and take action against its frontline troops responsible for these quote-unquote provocative actions. The statement does mention India's intent to deal fairly with serious events in the Galwan Valley, and it calls for the two sides to jointly abide by the military-level consensus. The statement by Beijing regarding the face-off that took place at the Galwan Valley, a strongly worded statement coming in after the Chinese Foreign Minister also spoke to the Indian External Affairs Minister over the phone. The statement says that, and it claims that it was the Indian troops who crossed the line of actual control. Not just that, it goes on to say that the Indian troops deliberately provoked the Chinese troops. The statement also calls for the two sides to jointly abide by the military-level consensus. At the same time, it has demanded that India must conduct a probe and take action against its frontline troops responsible for these quote-unquote provocative actions. That's the term that China has used to describe the incident that took place at the Galwan Valley, remember, which resulted in 20 Indian soldiers being killed in action. And this statement from Beijing also coming in after the Chinese Foreign Minister spoke to the Indian External Affairs Minister over the phone. China has now lodged a strong protest over that incident. And let's also get you up to speed with what the Indian Prime Minister has said today, talking about the sacrifice made by the 20 Indian soldiers who were killed in action in that Galwan Valley incident. The Prime Minister has said that the sacrifice of the Indian soldiers killed in that incident will not go in vain. The Prime Minister was speaking at his meeting with the Chief Ministers that started with a 2-minute silence as a mark of tribute to those 20 Indian soldiers.
भारत शांति चाहता है, लेकिन भारत उकसाने पर हर हाल में यथोचित जवाब देने में सक्षम है। और हमारे दिवंगत शहीद वीर जवानों के विषय में देश को इस बात का गर्व होगा कि वे मारते मारते मरे हैं।
The Prime Minister said on national television that India has never provoked anyone, referring to Monday's hand-to-hand fighting incident. Regarding the ongoing face-off, he said whenever there is a situation, India has shown its strength to keep the country united.
जहां कहीं हमारे मतभेद भी रहे हैं, हमने हमेशा ही ये प्रयास किया है कि मतभेद विवाद न बने, डिफरेंसेस डिस्प्यूट्स में न बदले। हम कभी किसी को भी उकसाते नहीं हैं लेकिन हम अपने देश की अखंडता और संप्रभुता के साथ समझौता भी नहीं करते हैं।
The Indian Prime Minister making those remarks after hundreds of Indian and Chinese troops have been facing each other since early May at 3 or 4 locations in the uninhabited high-altitude deserts of Ladakh. Prime Minister Modi has also called for an all-party meeting on the 19th of June to discuss the situation after the confrontation between the two nuclear-armed neighbors. That meeting that was held between the Prime Minister and the Chief Ministers and the Lieutenant Governors began with a 2-minute silence as a mark of tribute to the 20 soldiers who were killed in action. The Prime Minister said their sacrifice will not go in vain.
मैं देश को भरोसा दिलाना चाहता हूं, हमारे जवानों का बलिदान व्यर्थ नहीं जाएगा। हमारे लिए भारत की अखंडता और संप्रभुता सर्वोच्च है और इसकी रक्षा करने से हमें कोई भी रोक नहीं सकता। इस बारे में किसी को भी जरा भी भ्रम या संदेह नहीं होना चाहिए।
And that remains our continuing focus here in this edition, the violent face-off which took place at the India-China border on Monday. The Indian Army has announced last night that 20 Indian soldiers were killed in action as a result of that physical skirmish with the Chinese troops. India's Defence Minister Rajnath Singh has also made his first public statement on that standoff that took place with China. He expressed pain over the death of the Indian soldiers and said that the Indian troops displayed exemplary courage and valor in the highest traditions of the Indian Army. Sources are telling us that 4 Indian soldiers are in critical condition after the violent face-off with the Chinese troops that took place on Monday night. The Indian Army statement has confirmed that the two sides have now disengaged from the Galwan area. 17 Indian troops that were critically injured at the line of actual control succumbed to their injuries due to the sub-zero temperature and high altitude. The Indian Army also reaffirmed its commitment to protect the territorial integrity and sovereignty of India. Casualties have been reported on both sides, according to the Indian government. A U.S. intelligence report now indicates that there are 35 casualties on the Chinese side. However, the Chinese government has refused to confirm any casualties. The violent clash is among the first to have happened in over 4 decades, as the border has been largely peaceful. On Tuesday, the Indian Army confirmed that 1 commanding officer was among those killed by the Chinese troops. The Indian side had reportedly gone to demolish a temporary structure which the Chinese had built in the region within Indian territory. In response, Chinese troops surrounded the Indian soldiers and a physical skirmish followed. We have learned that no guns were used during the face-off. Batons, stones and whatever improvised weapons that the soldiers at the time had were used in defense from the aggressive Chinese troops. The Foreign Ministry of India has come out with a strong statement denouncing China's unilateral bid to change the status quo at the border. India has said that China departed from consensus to respect the line of actual control in Galwan. Moving on for now, the Chinese have also now released, and the Chinese government-owned media CCTV has released a new propaganda video. The footage shows Chinese military exercise and troops movement, but the location of the exercise is not yet confirmed. However, CCTV has claimed that the exercise took place at the same location where the fatal clash took place with the Indian Army. While India mourns the loss of the 20 Army officials who were killed in action in Galwan, the nationalist tabloids there, such as Global Times, are praising China's People's Liberation Army.
不严格追，按计划开始。
所有纵深攻击营，右路装甲步兵。